Good morning. Welcome to the Retirement Investment Club Crying Room. I don't know how you're all doing. I found out that my 401k is now a 201k, so I think we've got some issues that we got to work through. It's kind of funny, kind of working through the pandemic and all of the challenges that we had there, and our industry seemed to be moving in just one consistent direction. And then as we sort of reach the end of that, we're finding that our industry is going to have some interesting challenges ahead that we're going to be working through. And so I'll talk through a little bit about that. So this is the typical SECtember attendee. This is kind of going to be what you are and what it's going to look like here. So I picked this image before I was aware that there was a hurricane that was bearing down on Tampa. So if you're from Florida, apologies, I'm not meaning to throw any shade there, but what we are trying to do is put a tremendous amount of content in front of you in several different areas. And we want to do this in a way that's very concise, as we understand that the challenges that you have, and even getting away from work for a few days to do this are quite a big deal. And so we really appreciate you making that time, and we want to give you a lot of very focused knowledge, help you do your job, and go back to work enabled with a lot of different skill sets, a lot of different things that we need to do. So SECtember, which this is our second year of this, we initially had planned to do one in 2020. This is our view of where cloud and cybersecurity meet, and we think this is really where our whole industry needs to shift, and this is what we are planning to continue to do and to grow this event over the next several years. So, why are we doing this? Why is Cloud Security Alliance doing this? I think you can imagine, if you've been at RSA, if you've been at other conferences recently, that it's really apparent that cloud is the default IT infrastructure, and with that, cloud security is really has become that foundation for cybersecurity in so many different ways. So you can talk, a lot of sort of happy talk about, we can have our systems be very hybrid. We can do a lot of on-premise, and you actually can do that for some point in time. But the economics of where we're going are making it very clear that it's not sustainable in the long run. And I was at Falcon, the CrowdStrike conference last week, and George Kurtz, I thought, had some very insightful comments about how, when they looked at how they can develop and deliver solutions, knowing that they are in worlds and with enterprises that have a great deal of legacy on-premise technologies, that it was not sustainable, economical for them to go deliver the security services they needed to with multiple code bases, which is what you would need to do essentially to think about your cybersecurity strategy in sort of this bifurcated manner. So the ability and this viewpoint of cloud not only being something we were very concerned about securing, and all of the cloud itself and the virtual machines and all of that infrastructure that the providers have, and what's our responsibility on top of that. But also, it's just very clear that more and more the enabling solutions that come out of cloud, the security as a service, it reaches out into everything. And so cloud is the way that you secure all endpoints, and it's how you're going to be securing IoT. It's how you're going to have those insights into the OT systems and and the things that increasingly not only run our world, but kind of put cybersecurity really at the forefront of saving lives on a daily basis. So some of the really interesting things that we see, and it's really been noticeable in the last 5 or 6 years, is that as I travel around the world, how fundamental cybersecurity is to national security. And this creates a lot of understanding, opportunities for our industry. It also creates huge challenges for any of the organizations here that want to operate in any country besides their home country. And so it's definitely a dynamic where if you've been around in this for 30 years like I have, you see that the industry's grown. We're at the forefront. You look at the funding that's come for CISA out of Homeland Security and other places. There's a great opportunity. There's a great sort of moment in time for us to go capture this energy, this opportunity, and be able to make ourselves more relevant within business strategies at the board level, at the consumer level, almost every aspect you think of in this digital world is really going to be governed more and more by what we can do in this industry and what we can do with cloud security really being the platform for everything else we want to do. So, we've got a couple of what I would consider two of the Mount Rushmore figures of cybersecurity that are going to be following up and speaking next. We have Rich Bache, the CISO for the Central Intelligence Agency, and Phil Venables, who's the Chief Information Security Officer for Google Cloud. So I'm going to try and sort of finish, just right on time to do that. But if I don't think I would be a figure maybe more in Sturgis on a street corner waving at you. So just another South Dakota reference because that's where it is. So I'm not going to take a lot more time, but I did want to make sure because there's some of you that I would put in the position of being the cloud very, very much in the know for Cloud Security Alliance, and others that are potentially ones that are kind of knew this was a conference opportunity you had. So I wanted to make sure you understood a little bit more about us. So we started in 2009, 151,000 members around the world, 100 chapters around the world. We've done hundreds of research artifacts. We have the leading, based on our research, we've got the leading cloud provider security certification program, CSA STAR. We've got the leading individual professional credential, the Certificate of Cloud Security Knowledge, which we did training on earlier this week. We've got the Certificate of Cloud Auditing Knowledge, the only cloud auditing credential that you can get, co-developed with ISACA. And we have a similar certification for Zero Trust that we're developing, which will be released next year. So the research that we have really, it is a game changer in what we're doing. And I had to be very selective about what we have and what we're doing. But our threat modeling category of research, top threats, very important, fundamental for what you can be doing. Our cloud controls matrix is by an order of magnitude, and I'll talk about that a little bit more on the next slide, is a very important and, again, foundational research that there's actually a lot of people around the world that are more familiar with Cloud Controls Matrix than Cloud Security Alliance. That's how viral that has become. We're trying to provide research that's very relevant for you today on governance, operational, technology strategies, migration, to do this securely to the cloud. But we understand, as with this idea that cloud security is really foundational for cybersecurity, that there's other areas that we are getting quite involved in. And IoT, we have an IoT framework modeled after our cloud controls matrix that we're actually starting to see people do assessments and analysis of all sorts of embedded computing and other things to look at how they are appropriately hardened and if the security controls are consistently applied. We have a project that's fairly new that's called Global Security Database. So if you're familiar with MITRE's CVE program, which is pretty much pervasive to the industry, that's something that's been around for 23 years, and it's done a very good job. It's served a pretty good purpose for us taxonomizing and publishing vulnerability information, but it's highly curated. And if you look at the growth of CVEs in that 23-year time frame, and you look at the growth of overall technology, you can pretty much intuit that there is a very large gap in terms of the number of vulnerabilities that are either unknown, they are maybe in private security databases, they may be weaponized by any individual governments, their own weapons stockpile, they may be sort of hidden away in different bug bounty programs, things like that. And so, this is one major reason why we see a lot of issues in the world with O-days and all sorts of attacks that are getting more and more sophisticated over time. So Global Security Database is a research project intended to look to a future of more on-demand, rapid assignment of vulnerability identifiers, which hopefully we can make it very well integrated, compatible, and complementary to the CVE program. And hopefully we can see the CVE program become more on-demand and something that's fairly instantaneous. There was an issue last year, if you're familiar with Linux, if you follow Linux kernel builds and things like that, there was some university students in the University of Minnesota that tried to intentionally inject, I don't know if it was so much malware as bugs inside of the kernel, and there wasn't a really good way for the kernel owners and managers to be able to communicate very rapidly what they should be doing and what kernel they should be using. And it's not like there's nothing important that runs on Linux, right? So we're very hopeful that research like this can be very inspirational. Zero Trust is something that we are working on quite extensively. The Zero Trust Advancement Center we announced earlier this year, we saw a big shift, I think everybody did, in just that awareness and interest over a concept that's been around quite a while. At the beginning of the pandemic, when we saw organizations who felt they had really strong security strategies and architectures were compelled to rethink that when they had to send people home because they just weren't architected for that. Even the multi-factor, strong hardened systems, corporate images, now they're in a smart home with an unknown number of people that are there. So that's created some real significant challenges, and it's a great opportunity. And while Zero Trust has so much buzz right now, I actually do think it is going to be the architecture. We're going to go back, and we're going to re-architect so much of what the internet is along these Zero Trust principles. So we're trying to communicate that don't think of it as a specific technology, understand it as a set of guiding principles around anything can be compromised, and then let's go implement least privileged, and let's gain confidence in the type of systems we need to be able to do that. So join with us on that journey. So talking about forward-looking, quantum is an area that we are trying to build awareness. We've actually got a an 8-year program here that is saying in 2030 is when we're going to see quantum supremacy. But there are things you can do today. There's risks that you're facing today with that. There's things that we can move forward with. So again, we're trying to look at both the near term, the long term, and help you be sort of your guide on helping you develop a roadmap for your organization and for your career itself. So just a couple more things on where we're going to have priorities this year. So our STAR program that I mentioned for provider assurance, it's based on a lot of different components. Our cloud controls matrix, our questionnaire, the auditor training. We have different levels of it. And we have a trusted cloud provider program in this. And the message here is really that not only are we seeing organizations and individuals adopt this for themselves, but the big emphasis in 2023 is more like engaging with countries on this, engaging with whole industries to use this as opposed to whatever standards they have for assurance. So that's, again, a journey we can all take, and this really has become a widespread standard. So I really encourage you to make sure that you are understanding this, to understand the control objectives that more and more are going to be expected for you to adhere to around the world. So finally, there's just a few other things to make you aware of. We just announced a trusted cloud consultant program. CSA makes the best practices. We need consulting firms to have CSA practices inside of them. Financial services is a huge point of emphasis. We've brought on resources. We're continuing to invest in resources to provide specific capabilities there. You're going to hear some presentations today and tomorrow around that, so be understanding that. And yesterday we had a great CXO Trust Summit that was really creating more of this ecosystem around how do we enable CISOs and how do we enable the rest of the C-suite to better understand, at the board level, better understand the CISO's role and create that dialogue in a way that's going to be more conducive to where we need to go in the future. So a lot going, and whatever we think of next, the ideas that you might have, we'd like to enact that into the research programs that we deliver. So please catch me sometime today, tomorrow, anything like I think you should do this or that, and we're happy to go deliver. So with that, I want to thank you